Hi everybody, my name is Larsen. In this video I want to go over a few ways that you can work with and practice the pentatonic scale so that you can get away from using only the 2-note per string patterns and boxes that you probably already learned, and also so that you can get some melodies that sound a little bit less like Eric Clapton and B.B. King and a little bit more like something you can use in modern jazz or in fusion jazz. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar, about improvising over changes and interesting chord progressions and chord voicings, then subscribe to my channel. If you want to make sure not to miss anything, then click the little bell notification icon next to the subscribe button. The idea behind this example is to take the standard 2 notes per string shape, so in this case that would be this shape, and then I'm turning that into a shape that has not 2 notes per string, but first 3 and then 1, and then that pattern keeps on going, so that would be this shape. And the idea here is, since we have 3 notes and then 1 note, that's a little bit easier to play for your right hand than playing 2 notes all the time. And another thing that's also getting a little bit easier is that now we can actually have a 4th interval on one string. So we have this twice the 4th interval in the line, and that's just a lot easier to play when you have it on the same set of strings, if you're in a position where the stretch is doable anyway. So that's also what I'm using in the line. I start out with 4th interval, then I play the B on the next string, and then again skipping up so I have another 4th interval. And then from here I go down to the first note on that string, so the D, and then just up the scale, and then a short pattern to end it. In this example, I'm applying the pentatonic scale to a 2-5-1 in the key of D major, also just to give a clear example of how this works really well for using the pentatonic scale to get more of a modern jazz sound or a fusion sound. So the concept behind the E minor pentatonic that I'm using here is in fact that I'm playing it 3 notes per string. And the good thing about checking out your pentatonic scales in 3 notes per string is that you get a pattern of or fingering that actually moves across the neck, and it's going to be different for each different key that you have of the pentatonic scale if you start on the lowest note. For the E minor pentatonic, it looks like this. In the example, I'm only playing the E minor pentatonic scale for 1 bar, and that means I'm only using actually the top part of the 3 note per string pattern that I just played. So that would be these 6 notes. And what's happening here is that I first start with, again, 4th interval, because when we're playing 3 notes per string with the pentatonic scale, then the 4th interval is really easy to play. So playing that here, then kind of shifting up to the B here, and then again using on the next string the 4th interval, which actually gives me a quarter arpeggio, so B, E, and A. And then just down the scale, and then I move into an A7 altered line, so that's just down to the C sharp, the B flat, which is a flat 9, pulling off to the A, G, and then the flat 13, 3rd, sharp 9, flat 9, and then resolving to the 5th. And then from the 5th, I'm actually using the F sharp minor pentatonic on the D major 7, which is sort of using the minor pentatonic from the 3rd of the chord is something I do really a lot for major 7 chords. I think that's a really nice sound. In this case, the A and then skipping up to E, and then we get another quarter arpeggio, which is from C sharp, so C sharp, F sharp, and then B, so really ending the line on the 13 of the major 7. In this example, I'm sort of combining the 2 approaches, so I'm using 3 notes per string and I'm keeping it in a position. And in a way I'm sort of creating an overview, so if you think of it starting in just the normal 2 notes per string position, then that would be of course this one. And then I kind of have that overview, but I can also see the extensions of it, which would be 3 notes per string where I move up, and that would be then this one. if I extend down, then I would get this one. So with both of these extensions, they're 3-note per string and they are staying in position, and that means that I'm repeating notes all the time. So it's not something that I'm really practicing as scales that much. It's much more a question of just having that as an overview, because when I'm playing scales, I don't really want to have those double notes. I don't think that sounds that nice. But it is nice to have that in there. For instance, if I'm playing, so I'm using pentatonic scales a lot if I'm superimposing them on other chords. So the E minor pentatonic might be something that I would use when I'm playing on a C major 7. As I already mentioned, the idea of using a minor pentatonic scale from the third of a major 7 chord. And if I'm playing, so sort of coming out of this position, then on as a major scale, that would sort of be this major scale that I would have in mind for the C major chord. And then it's just natural to have these extended sort of versions of the pentatonic scale as well. And in that way I can sort of branch out and just reach some notes that I wouldn't really otherwise be able to reach. And it's in that way just opening up. And actually the pentatonic scale is also opening up my ability to transition from one major scale position to another, because they're overlapping, and the reach of this is actually the same as playing a sort of 4-note per string major scale. So in that way they're sort of connecting different positions of the major scale, which can also be sort of an easier way to just transition from one place to the next. The line that I'm playing is really making use of this. So I start with extending upwards, so from D to E, and then sweeping down the E minor triad and then ending on the D. So, and then a similar idea, but now I'm back in the original position but extending downwards, which gives me sort of this A7 sus4 arpeggio, and then an E minor 7 arpeggio, and then I'm ending the line on an F sharp, which is the 9 of the E minor, which isn't really in the scale, but it's just a nice note to end on. Of course, there are more ways that you can work with the pentatonic scales that's going to help you connect them and also combine them so that it's easier to play larger intervals or move around the neck. And these are a few ways that I use a lot, and that I find also, if I sort of look back at the way that I'm playing, are really influential and also really helpful to the way that I play. But if you have an approach that you think works really well, then I would love to hear about it, and I'm sure all the other guys watching this video would also be curious. So please leave a comment. Maybe there's something new we can all discover that's definitely worthwhile. For the rest, if you want to learn more about jazz guitar and this is the first time that you see one of my videos, then subscribe to my channel. I publish a new video every Monday and Thursday, and I've been doing this for quite some time, so there's already really a lot of material on my channel. If you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. It's because of the support that I'm getting from my patrons that I can make videos every week. I'm very grateful for that, and if you support me on Patreon, I can also give you something in return for your support. That's about it for this week. Thank you for watching, and until next week.